Welcome to the 12th episode of DJ's Take. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for listening. So what is this podcast about? What are we doing here? This podcast is dedicated to educating you, exciting you, and entertaining you all at the same flipping time. So what does that mean? What it means is that this is a platform where you and I can learn about lots of different things and lots of different topics from lots of different incredible people. So sometimes I'm going to be bringing on people that I know knows their stuff about a certain topic. So say I know a vegan that I know really knows their vegan stuff. Okay, I'll bring him on, he can educate me. Or I know someone that knows a lot about history. Bring him on, educate me. Or someone that knows a lot about martial arts or philosophy or psychology. Anything that I can sit back and just learn, I want to know about. So that is what this podcast is all about. A platform where you and I can sit back, relax, and just learn. So the 12th episode is today's episode is when I'm going to just go down and break down stuff that's going on in the combat sports world. So I've decided, because I'm starting to gain an array of different listeners. For the combat sports episodes, I'm going to put like MMA podcast, or I'll attach that it's dedicated to MMA, so it's easier for people to understand. So that if you're here to learn about philosophy or history or science, you know that it's an information podcast. But this podcast is where I'm just going ham on UFC stuff because I'm a big UFC fan. So sometimes I've got to just go ham on what's going on in the combat sports world. So if you are a UFC fan, or if you know anything about MMA at all, you know that UFC 228 is around the corner. Now, UFC 228 is, overall the card is decent, but there's one fight that I have just been buzzing to talk about. But I've been thinking about it all week, thinking about it since the day it got announced. I cannot wait. And this fight is Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. And I'm gonna break down the whole fight like my name is Dan Hardy, and I'm gonna just go straight into it. Darren Till is from the UK and he's from Liverpool. He's Scouser, so he talks like this. I will be the welterweight champion. That's how he talks. So Darren Till's from the UK, so I've obviously got mad love for Darren Till because I'm from the UK. I'm from Surrey, which is just outside London. 5 minutes away from London is where I live. So I've got mad love for Darren Till, who's from Liverpool. And Tyron Woodley as well, I've got love for. At first, cannot lie, I did not like Tyron Woodley, but Tyron Woodley's grown on me loads, especially since this fight has been announced. So this fight is it's one for the ages, and it's one of the best welterweight fights on paper that we've had in a while. So let's just go straight into it, because these guys are going to lock horns next Saturday. And if you're anything like me, you're buzzing. You are buzzing for this fight. So let's just break this down. So first and foremost, we look at their resumes. Okay, so Darren Till is currently sitting at 17-0-1. So 17 wins, 0 losses, and 1 draw. So he is undefeated. Now, Darren Till being undefeated is part of the storyline that we actually need to look at, because Darren Till, when you watch his interviews, when you see the way he carries himself as a man that is undefeated, but he carries himself with a kind of more of a confidence than a swagger. So we've seen undefeated fighters think, I'm unbeatable, I'm unbelievable, but then they come against the top echelon guys and they just get smashed. But there's something about Darren Till where that, even though he hasn't lost in the ring yet, in the cage yet, he still has the swagger where he believes that he's going to be able to best any man. And this is a double-edged sword within itself, because every single time that Darren Till has fought in the UFC, and I think every single time that Darren Till's fought in general in the cage, he's been the hammer. So he's not used to people imposing his will on him. And if we look at his resume, Darren Till is pretty much bigger than every single man that he's fought against. And this is actually another key storyline, another key part of the fight that we need to look into. So right off the bat, Darren Till's resume looks like this. So he's got wins over Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Donald Cerrone, Nicholas Dalby, that was a draw, Jessin Ayari, don't know that guy, and Bohan Velikjovic. So I'm a hardcore UFC fan. So much so that I have a podcast about it, and I don't actually know some of his wins. But the two wins that we need to look at in particular are Donald Cerrone and Wonderboy Thompson. Now, the reason why these wins are important is that Donald Cerrone is a very, very elite fighter. He was an elite lightweight and a very, very good welterweight too. So what we're starting to see is that although he only has two huge marquee wins against the top of the guys, top of the division, he does very well. So the Donald Cerrone fight, we left that fight thinking, okay, this man's the real deal. Okay, this is not someone that you can just bulldoze over. He's an excellent fighter. And if fighters think they're going to come in and just bulldoze him, they're going to get smashed. And that's what we kind of saw with Donald Cerrone. But the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson fight was also brilliant to watch because we saw that when he goes against another elite striker, he doesn't become aggressive. He doesn't become overzealous. So Stephen Wonderboy Thompson had fighters that would come aggressive against him and they would just smash him to pieces. So the fact that Darren Till is patient enough to land his shots, to not lunge in, to be able to time when he wants to land the big overhand, it shows he's a very, very elite striker. And pivotally, Darren Till showed that he still has KO power in the 5th round. So when he fought Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, he got a knockdown in the 5th round. And what's so important about that is, after 5 rounds of a chess match, he still was looking for openings. And when that opening came, he still was able to land a killer shot. Now, I think it kind of shows how complete his game is. It's because we see a lot of knockout artists, invert air quotes, knockout artists, who, if they knock you out in the first 2 rounds, you're going to be fine. So I love Vitor Belfort, but Vitor Belfort was kind of a man where if he didn't knock you out in the first 2 rounds, you're going to be okay. And Darren Till, is not like that at all. Darren Till is a very patient, elite striker. So I think that kind of showed how brilliant he is. So, yeah, now if we compare it with Tyron Woodley is currently sitting at 18-3-1. Now, what's so funny is people go into this fight saying, oh, Tyron Woodley is the old veteran, which he is. But in terms of experience, Tyron Woodley's only got 4 more cage fights, 4 more MMA fights than Darren Till. So in terms of experience, of going into the cage, they're pretty even. But in terms of UFC fights, they couldn't be more further apart. So Tyron Woodley has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I hope that I counts that correctly. 10 UFC fights and 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, including Strikeforce, 18 fights at the highest level. So his resume is excellent in terms of experience. But on the other hand, Darren Till's only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights in the UFC and 6 fights at the highest level. So in terms of the experience, it's night and day. And if you also look at Tyron Woodley's resume, it reads like a dream. So he's got wins over Damian Maia, Stephen Thompson, Robbie Lawler, Kelvin Gastelum, Dong Hyun Kim, Josh Koscheck, Jay Heron, Jordan Mine, Paul Daly, Andre Galvao. How dare you beat Andre Galvao? Tarek Safandine. He's also got one over Carlos Condit, but I don't really count it because Carlos Condit got injured. But what's way more impressive is that this might sound a bit weird, but he's also got losses over Rory McDonald, Jake Shields, and Nate Marquardt. Now, that says 2 things about Tyron Woodley. Now, firstly, Tyron Woodley only loses against the best of the best of the best of the best of the best. Because Rory McDonald, in my opinion, is the best welterweight on planet Earth today. I think he's actually better than Tyron Woodley, and it's shown that he's a champion in Bellator. Jake Shields is another man who's excellent. Jake Shields has a ridiculous resume and is also one of the best welterweights ever. Jake Shields has a record of 33-10, so he's another elite welterweight. And Nate Marquardt, who's fought as big as middleweight, so he's another massive veteran who's very good. But the reason why I bring this up is that Tyron Woodley losing, it made Tyron go back and plug his hold. Because if Tyron Woodley thought that he would be able to become champion with just a blast double and the skills that he had, it would never have worked. But he's worked really, really hard with his coach and been able to make stuff happen. And what's the name of his coach? It's Dean Thomas. So him and Dean Thomas have gone back, worked through stuff, and improved his game. And we're starting to see it. We saw how great he was in the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson first fight. We saw how good he was in the first Robbie Lawler fight. He did really well against Kelvin Gastelum. He was doing well against Carlos Condit. He did brilliantly against Josh Koscheck. So he's had that adversity, so that will come into his favor, and that will be in his corner when he comes into these world title fights, because he's been through that fire. So when we look at both resumes, I think Tyron Woodley is levels above Darren Till because of the competition that he's fought whilst on his journey to the title. And I don't think that Darren Till cares too much, because even Darren Till said, I don't think I deserve a title shot right now. And he said it because he missed weight. He recognized that. I really like Darren Till's mentality. We'll get to that. And I also think that he thought, okay, maybe I need to smash some more welterweights. I think he even said, I haven't beat anybody yet. And I think his whole mental and just in dealing with the light is just top notch. And that also comes into his mental, which I'll get into. So if we look at both of the fighters' momentum, I think that right now Darren Till actually has more momentum than Tyron Woodley. So Darren Till, in my notes, it says 17 fight win streak. So bar his draw, the man has just destroyed every single person that he's fought. So, oh my God, look at this man's resume. TKO, KO, TKO, submission, KO, submission, you got a toe held. Shout out to Darren Till. TKO, KO, TKO. So he just brutalizes men. And in the decisions he's pretty much been the aggressor. So Darren Till has a habit of imposing his will, getting the TKO, getting the KO. And what I also like to see with Darren Till is that he has an array of TKOs and KOs throughout his resume. So he has a first round knockout, a second round knockout, third round, first round knockout, second round, third round, fourth round knockout. That's brilliant. He has a fifth round knockdown against Wonderboy Thompson. So he's always going to be able to land that big shot, where a lot of other fighters won't have the power to do it in the fifth round. So coming off 4 big wins, all in Europe, that's excellent. So he's got a win against Wonderboy Thompson in flipping Poland. He's got a win against Wonderboy Thompson in his hometown. And the way that he dealt with the whole pressure of main event, hometown, family's there, grandma's there, your postman's there, your dogs, neighbors, cats there, everybody's watching you. He dealt with it brilliantly, all smiles. He really took in the moment. So I think that in terms of momentum, he's coming in beautifully. Compare it to Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley kept saying in interviews, I did 4 world title fights in a year. And I didn't understand what he meant, but when I actually look at his resume, he's not lying. So he fought Robbie Lawler in July 30, 2016. Then fought Wonderboy Thompson in November 2016. Then fought Wonderboy Thompson again March 4th, 2017. Then fought Damian Maia in July. So literally to the date, he did 4 world title fights in a year. Firstly, that's incredible. I don't understand. And Wonderboy, Tyron gets a lot of slack for saying, "Oh, I'm one of the greatest no one recognizes." I think if we actually all knew how many fights he did in the space of a year, we would all be like, wow, he's a really incredible athlete. But the issue is that against Damian Maia, he tore his labrum, which is I think a ligament in his shoulder. Excuse me, I don't know anything about science. Which is why I'm going to bring on 2 of my closest friends who are biomed students. I'm going to bring on my sister who's becoming a doctor to teach me about all different parts of the body. So yeah, that's why I'm going to bring on those people, because I don't know anything about the body apart from lifting weights. So yeah, he tore his labrum, but the issue is that coming off an injury, you're at a point where it's difficult to be able to have a lot of momentum, because there is a little bit of ring rust, irrespective of what Dominic Cruz says. I love you, Dominic Cruz, but not everybody's as great as you. So yeah, it's difficult. And if your name isn't GSP or Dominic Cruz, you're probably going to have a little bit of ring rust. And having ring rust against Darren Till is not a fun time. It's definitely not a fun time in the office. And if you start slow, he'll kill you. He did that to Donald Cerrone. We saw what he brings when you don't bring your A game. When you do not bring your A game, he will smash you to pieces. So when we look at momentum, I think that Darren Till, again, has the edge. Now, the teams. Now, who you train with, who you're with on a daily basis is very important. Now, it's funny because I've been doing analysis of all these books, and both the books I did analysis of kind of allude to the fact that who you roll around with, who you spend your time with, is who you will become. So whether it's who you are at, who your friends are, who you're with at work, your peers, blah 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 blah, your community, who you're around impacts you. So when we look at each fighter's teams, I think that this is a great advantage for Tyron Woodley. Now, right off the bat, I need to say this. Darren Till's team is Team Carbon. Now, I don't know anything about Team Carbon. I don't know anything about them. Now, obviously, they're based in Liverpool because that's his hometown. The fighter that they have that I know of the most is Terry Etam. Now, Terry Etam is from the UK. He suffered that brutal knockout loss against Edson Barboza, and I think his health has been struggling since. But he was in the Countdown show and he looked like he was in really good health. So it's good to see Terry Etam in good health. So my blessings to him and his family. Awesome. But again, I don't know many fighters from his team. Now, the reason why I bring this up is that does Darren Till have have the type of fighters that can mimic Tyron Woodley's wrestling credentials? Because if Tyron Woodley thinks, okay, you've got the best striking, maybe in the welterweight division, maybe in the welterweight and middleweight division, you've got brilliant striking, I'm going to just wrestle you. You know, we've seen Tyron Woodley show his wrestling against Wonderboy Thompson, against Josh Koscheck, against Carlos Condit, a little bit. We've seen how good his wrestling is. So maybe he just says, okay, you don't have the wrestling credential I have. I'm going to just wrestle you to death. I'm super athletic. I'm a great fighter. Why would I possibly be playing this striking game with you? So does Darren Till have the partners, the training partners that can give him those wrestling looks? But at the same time, when we look at Tyron Woodley's camp, it's who's who. So he's got Anthony Pettis, who is the weight class below him, even though Anthony Pettis is much more than Tyron Woodley. But he's a former champion and a brilliant fighter and an elite striker. Ben Askren, he's maybe the best grappler, one of the best grapplers in MMA, maybe the best wrestler in MMA today. He's got Bilal Muhammad, who I think he's like one of the first. I think he's one of the first I think it was the first fighter to do a fight in Ramadan, a first Muslim to do a fight in Ramadan. So that was awesome. Shout out to Bilal Muhammad. And Bilal Muhammad is a really good fighter. And Paul Felder. And his coach is Duke Rufus. So his team is ridiculous. He's got some of the best fighters around him. He's got Paul Felder, who's a beast. He's got Anthony Pettis, who's a beast. Sergio Pettis, beast. Ben Askren, beast. And Tyron Woodley also flies in fighters. He flies in people to help him. He's also got Dean Thomas in his corner, and he's got he's got a new boxing coach, Freddie Roach's guy. I think he's called Eric Brown. So he's got a lot of great coaches and teammates around him. So again, I think this edge goes to Tyron Woodley, because I don't know much about Team Carbon, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but all I know is that Tyron Woodley has an extremely good team and a lot of great people behind him. So yeah, that's on Tyron Woodley's side. Moreover, the mental game. When we look at the mental game, this is where I'm most excited about the fight, because Darren Till is a fighter where when he says something, you believe it. You really, really, really believe what the man is saying. So Darren Till has been saying, I will be the best welterweight fighter in the division. I'll be the best welterweight fighter of all time. And, you know, he has that strong Scouse accent, but I really believe what he's saying. You can see it in the way he carries himself, in the way that he deals with issues, in the way that he answers questions. He really believes that he is a great fighter, and he is. And he really believes he'll be the next welterweight champion. We've heard people say, it's my time, it's my time, it's my time. All the damn time. Everybody says, they're going to be the next this, the next that, the next blah, 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 blah. But they never make it, and they never quite believe it. But with Darren Till, I think the most telling thing about Darren Till was the way that he dealt with not making weight. Now, Darren Till has missed weight a couple of times, and I'm going to get to him missing weight. But the fact that he said, no excuses, I just didn't make weight, it wasn't good enough, etc., 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 I think it was perfect. He did not shy away from it. He did not cry about it. He said, I made a mistake. And every single reporter is asking about his weight. And you know what? Rightly so. The man is humongous. The man is like literally a light heavyweight that is fighting at welterweight. He literally could fight at light heavyweight. He's that big. Apparently he comes into the octagon at around 215 pounds. And for my UK fans, that is 90 kilograms, and he weighs in the day before about 78 kilograms. So yeah, he's a massive human. So yeah, but in terms of his mental, he's brilliant. But on the other hand, you've got Tyron Woodley, who also is mentally just a tank. Tyron Woodley is not someone that breaks. He's not someone that's going to be trash talked into oblivion. He really believes in his skill, and it shows in the way that he fights. It shows in his preparation, and it shows in how analytical he is. I think Tyron Woodley does not get enough credit for how bright he is, because a lot of people just see this big, bulky black dude and they think, oh man, he's so powerful, he's so this, and he is very powerful. But where Tyron really shines is his analysis. He's got a very, very analytical brain. The way he was able to analyze the way that Stephen Wonderboy Thompson would fight is brilliant. And Stephen Wonderboy Thompson is a much better striker than Tyron Woodley is. Just facts. He just is. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson might be the best striker in the whole of the UFC. But Tyron Woodley did what no other fighter wants to do and just sat down and just said, I'm going to understand all of his mannerisms, what he does best, what he does wrong, etc., etc., all his habits. He even said on Joe Rogan's podcast that he found out that Robbie Lawler had a flat face, so you had to punch him in a certain way. Like, even though that could be total rubbish, it's the fact that he went to those lengths to determine how to fight. It just shows how brilliant he is. So again, he doesn't get enough credit for being analytical. And in the mental game, I think they're around even. And I think that's what makes this fight so impressive. So we're moving on to KO power. Now, both men have been labeled as knockout artists. Now, when people just throw out knockout artists, and I have a couple of theories on knockout artists, and that being a knockout artist in the UFC is the worst thing you can be ever. I'll get into that on another podcast, but because I feel like knockout artists just rely on KOing someone or they're screwed. But neither Darren Till or Tyron Woodley need to KO you to win. Tyron Woodley has proven that even if he doesn't get a knockout, he can still beat you. The last time Tyron Woodley got a knockout was against Robbie Lawler, which was over 2 years ago. And before that, he can still beat people with his wrestling, still be able to beat you by outpointing you. So he beat Kelvin Gastelum, no knockout. He beat Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, the second fight, no knockout. Damian Maia, no knockout. So again, he's a fighter that has lots of skills. If it's not just a knockout. Does he have knockout power? Absolutely. He has knockout power. He has one of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen. I think it was against Jay Heron, where he literally sprinted across the octagon and just hit Jay Heron with the dirtiest overhand I've ever seen. It's one of the worst KOs, one of my favorite KOs ever. So does he have knockout power? Absolutely. And again, just like Wonderboy, he has knockout power in the 5th round. So brilliant to see. Compared to Darren Till, I think Darren Till again has knockout power. It shows. Knocked out Donald Cerrone, knocked out Wendell de Oliveira. He's got knockouts, got lots of knockouts on his resume. But what's awesome about Darren Till is that he doesn't need the knockout. And Darren Till has, I wouldn't say knockout, but he has more power in all of his shots. So everything that Darren Till lands looks like it hurts. So Darren Till uses more kicks, uses more punches, and fights more at range. Everything he throws is from the chamber, and everything he throws is from a great distance, and it lands with oomph. It lands with great emphasis. You could see when he landed on Donald Cerrone was like, oh, this hurts. Oh, goddamn. Like, he felt the pressure. What Darren Till calls unidentified pressure. So he could feel that, there was, what's the word? He could feel that there was a lot of emphasis behind every shot. Not in the way that he was overzealous, but more in the way that every shot counted. Kind of like John Jones, kind of like Israel Adesanya, kind of like Conor McGregor, kind of like Anderson Silva. That it's kind of where you're fighting at a distance where you're picking your shots beautifully, and then when you do land, your opponent goes, damn, I don't want to feel that again. Damn, I don't want to feel that again. So both have great knockout power, and they use their KO power in different ways, and it will make for a very interesting fight. And it makes me wonder: will Darren Till move forward and use his unidentified pressure to back up Tyron Woodley? Because when Tyron Woodley is backed up, he is dangerous. He'll just bum rush you and hit you with a huge overhand or a huge shot. Because Tyron Woodley's okay. He's very okay to let you pressure him, and he'll just counter strike and hit you with a massive shot. When we've seen that when Tyron Woodley's against the fence, that's when he's the most dangerous. That's when he'll just explode and hit you with a shot that will, send you to the hospital. So I'm very curious to see how this fight will go, especially because of that. So yeah, again, we move on to Darren Till's striking, and I have so many notes on Darren Till's striking. So he is a great elite striker. So he might even be in the top 10 best MMA strikers in the UFC. He legitimately might be. If off the top of my head, the best strikers are Wonderboy Thompson, Alistair Overeem, Conor McGregor, Luke Rockhold, who else? Demetrius Johnson, John Jones. Who else? Edson Barboza. He could be in the top 10. Darren Till could be in the top 10 best strikers in the UFC right now. Easily could be up there. He's an extremely good fighter. Even when I look at this list, I mean, it's quite an old list. He could easily be up there. He's very, very good striking. So I don't know if Tyron Woodley wants to sit there and play a striking battle with him. So again, because of how rangy he is, and because of how patient he is with his striking, will that be an issue for Tyron Woodley? But again, Tyron Woodley has seen this all before. There's an argument to say that even though Darren Till is a different fighter and a much bigger fighter, Tyron Woodley's kind of dealt with this before, but in the fact that Tyron Woodley has smashed a lot of southpaws. So he's fought southpaws in Don Kyung Kim, Kelvin Gastelum, Robbie Lawler, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Damian Maia. They're all southpaws. I mean, Colby Covington's a southpaw too, so it's not like when he fights a southpaw, it's different for him. He's had lots of experience against southpaws, and if you don't know, Asmita, southpaws are difficult to fight because the range is different and landing shots are different because they lead with their left hand and not their right hand. So leading with your left hand, it's difficult. The distance is different, landing shots are different. So it can give someone trouble if they haven't seen it before. But Tyron Woodley's had lots and lots of practice against southpaws, and he's had practice against one of the best southpaws that the UFC's ever seen in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So I'm starting to think more and more that Tyron Woodley's going to just wrestle him to death and just get takedown after takedown, chain takedown to takedown, and just take a leaf out of Henry Cejudo's book. God, I want him to lose his belt. So can Darren Till withstand the brilliance of Tyron Woodley's striking? Sorry, his wrestling. Because I don't know if Tyron Woodley is going to play that game. But yeah, the X factors, the things that we don't know, and the things that are pivotal to the fight. Okay, so Darren Till, I'm sorry if you ever listen to this, I love you, but I've got to bring it up, bro. Your weight. How is Darren Till going to weigh in? Is Darren Till going to weigh in? Is he going to come in overweight? Is he going to make weight? Is it going to be a hard weight cut? I think Darren Till is going to make weight, but I don't know if it's going to be an easy weight cut. I saw videos of him weighing in, and he looked like he was on death's door. So will it be a weight cut again where he's really struggling? He said he wanted to go to the UFC Performance Institute to make sure it was an easy recovery for him, which I think is really bright, and it shows that he's an extremely good professional. He's a professional fighter. And a lot of people take a much more journeyman approach to it. So that will be answered on Friday. And that's why I'm going to be doing the next MMA show on Friday, because I want to see what his weight is like. And then I'll be breaking down the rest of the card. So yeah, Darren Till's weight. Secondly, Darren Till's size. Darren Till was again, he's a light heavyweight fighting at the welterweight division. He's kind of like the Rumble Johnson of the division today. He's humongous. He's a massive human. I don't understand why Tyron Woodley keeps saying he's a 6'3" striker, because he isn't. But he's 6 foot, but he is a very big welterweight. He's not even a welterweight. He's like a light heavyweight. So again, Darren Till's even said, I don't have many fights at welterweight left, maybe 4. So he's going up to middleweight. So will his size be too much of an issue for Tyron Woodley, or will it be another issue for Darren Till where the weight cut almost killed him? So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to pan out, because we've seen Darren Till make weight, and we've seen him struggle to make weight. And even when he did make weight, I said weight about 100 times as meter. Even when he did make weight, it was a struggle for him. And there's also been times where he's made weight and he looked like the bee's knees the next day. So again, we will see how that impacts the fight. Another thing that I think that a lot of people aren't recognizing, I didn't even recognize myself until I went on Wikipedia, was that Tyron Woodley is long in the tooth, not just in terms of veteran status, but in terms of age. Tyron Woodley is 36 years old. Or was it 37? He is 36 April 7th, so he just turned 36 a couple of months, like 2 months ago. 3 months ago, sorry. That's a pretty old age, a pretty ripe age to be in the UFC. Now, if this isn't heavyweight and your name isn't Yoel Romero and you're still knocking out people at the age of 41, you're going to be slumming down. And I think it maybe him having an injury is the word indicative. Maybe it indicates, indicative. Maybe it indicates that he's slowing down a little bit. Now, when you compare Tyron Woodley to Darren Till, and I think Darren Till how old is Darren Till? 1 second, beautiful people. If my internet works quick. Oh, it works quick. He's 1992. Oh gosh, you're not that old. Yeah, Darren Till is only 25 years old. So 25 versus 36. Now, of course, Tyron Woodley has a lot more experience in terms of against elite fighters, which is not like that's no secret. Will Tyron Woodley's age be an issue? Will it slow him down because he's had a year layoff? He's been injured. And Darren Till has crazy momentum, so he's a freight train right now. So I don't know if that could be a big issue. And last but not least, again, I know I've mentioned this 100 times, but Tyron Woodley's wrestling. Tyron Woodley has awesome wrestling, and I just don't know if Darren Till will be able to deal with it. And I'm sure we've seen that he has great takedown defense, but Darren Till has not fought someone that has the same wrestling credentials as Tyron Woodley. He just hasn't. Donald Cerrone has pretty good wrestling, but it's nowhere. Donald Cerrone is an elite Muay Thai striker. He's a brilliant striker. But Wonderboy Thompson, I don't think he's ever gone for a takedown in his life. I legit don't think he's gone for a takedown in his life. So I don't know if he's gone against wrestlers that are just as good as him. So my final prediction. Oh man, I'm torn. I can't lie. I don't usually buy into the hype trains, but for some reason, I just feel like Darren Till's going to win. I just feel like I don't know why, but I just feel like it's going to be, he's going to be able to use his pressure and make it a difficult match for Tyron Woodley. And Tyron Woodley's a little bit older, and he's coming back from a long layoff, and I feel like that momentum will propel Darren Till. But oh my gosh, this is so hard to predict. My gut is telling me Darren Till, but my brain is telling me that Tyron Woodley is going to just be analytical, take his time, land his shots, and use his wrestling. Either way could happen. I think I would never bet on this, ever. I am 55% Darren Till, 45% Tyron Woodley. I'm leaning towards Darren Till just a little bit, and I literally never jump on hype trains. I thought Francis Ngannou was going to lose. I thought Cody Garbrandt was going to lose to Dominic Cruz. I was wrong. I thought Vulcan was going to lose. I never jump onto the hype trains, but I feel like this is a very legit hype train because he's beaten Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Donald Cerrone. But yeah, I mean, it could go either way. 3 things will happen. No, 4 things will happen. Darren Till will either knock out Tyron Woodley in the first round, unlikely. Darren Till will use his unidentified pressure to slowly beat Woodley, possible. Woodley takes his time and lands shots, and it's a slow chess match. Or Woodley wrestles Darren Till to death. Those are the 4 things that can happen. I don't see Tyron Woodley knocking out Darren Till, but I do see Darren Till knocking out Tyron Woodley. If that might sound a bit weird, because Tyron Woodley has a more one-punch knockout power, but I just don't see it happening as much because Darren Till's a better striker. But either way, I'm going to be watching like a hawk. I'm going to be staying up at 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning to watch this one. And you'll be staying up with me too, Azra. So yeah, I'll be staying up all night to watch this one. It's going to be a pretty crazy fight, I think. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. And again, I will be doing a podcast on Friday to see where Darren Till's weight is at, because that's a huge factor. And, you know, the guy is massive. So that is a real part of this fight and part of the storyline. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. God bless you for giving me 36 minutes of your life. I really, really appreciate that you listen, and I'm really, really looking forward to this fight. I'm going to be breaking down another one of my favorite books either tomorrow or the day after. One of the, in my opinion, the best book on the law of attraction. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo about the law of attraction, so I wanted to go into one of my favorite books and break it down and look at why it's such an awesome thing to know about. So yeah, that is coming. Thank you so much for listening. God bless you. Have an awesome, awesome, awesome week. If you enjoyed this, please send it to a friend. Please give me some feedback. Please let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I'm not doing well, what I am doing good. I'm a young podcaster in this game. I don't know much. This is like the 12th episode I've ever done, so I'm learning. So God bless you. Have a great week. I will see you tomorrow or the day after that. In a bit, y'all. Have a great, great week. TJ's take number 12.